Good morning, Happy Valley, and welcome back to another edition of the Penn State 365 podcast. I'm your host, Richie O'Leary, and if you notice today, I'm by myself as our co-host and everydayer. Dylan Callahan Crowley is celebrating the birth of his son, Bryson TJ. So shout out to Dylan and congrats to him. But here at Penn State, at the Penn State 365 podcast, the news never stops. Some breaking news for Penn State today. They flipped a linebacker/athlete commit from Duke in Cameron Smith out of St. Joe's Prep in Philadelphia. Cameron Smith's a kid that's been longtime Penn State target. He actually ended up committing to Duke and Manny Diaz almost immediately after Manny Diaz took the Duke head coaching job. There's obviously a ton of connections there between Gabe Infante, the former St. Joe's Prep coach, who's also on Manny Diaz's staff, former Penn State guy. This is a guy that Penn State's been recruiting for a long time now. He was a little lower on the board at linebacker, and Penn State secured a couple linebacker commits pretty early in Alex Tatch, Deshaun Burnett, and they did have DJ McClary committed for a little bit, but once DJ flipped to Rutgers a couple months ago, there was an opening, and then Penn State made a big push for Cameron Smith again. Now, Cameron Smith is a little bit on the smaller side. He's a 6 foot, 190-pound athlete per Rivals. He's coming in as a linebacker. He's more of like a hybrid type linebacker. He's got that mean streak to him. I'm just looking at his tape again right now for the first time in a month, I should say, or a couple weeks since he was at the Lash Bass event, and that's kind of what sealed the deal for him to flip his commitment from Duke to Penn State. He's very versatile. He can kind of play a little bit of a safety/linebacker hybrid role. He's that new age linebacker that you really love to see in that 4-3 attacking defense. Could even probably fit into a 4-2 as well. Really good straight line speed, very aggressive, very physical. You love to see that out of linebackers. You love to see when they have that attacking style. They're not afraid to hit that open gap and destroy the running back at the line of scrimmage if possible. Really good at reading and reacting to plays, whether it be a pass play or a run play. And part of that's also because he has such a talented defense around him and such a talented coaching staff over at St. Joe's Prep, which, again, arguably the top program in the state of Pennsylvania year in and year out. They produce D1 talent at an insane rate. I want to say there's at least like 8 kids or more per cycle that end up at D1 schools. Looking again, I know he's 6 foot 190, so he does have a frame that really needs to pack on some pounds. That's where Chuck Lucy and the coaching staff, the strength and conditioning staff specifically, should be able to help him a little bit. More of a down the line type of guy that should be a contributor in a couple years, not year one, not year two. Probably redshirt him year one, year two, maybe get him some special team snaps depending on his speed and how quickly he can get down the field on special teams. But he also has some really long arms, a really long wingspan, and that could be a big asset in the pass game. And that's where that hybrid linebacker safety type role comes into play. It really allows him to kind of close in the windows that quarterbacks expect to be open at times. Just a really good get going through his profile right now. He's been committed to Duke since February. He only took one official visit, and that was to Duke on May 31st. It sounded like he was a Duke lock. Penn State, like I said, had 3 linebacker commits at the time. And kind of had him a little bit lower on the board. There wasn't really an opening, and then all of a sudden there was an opening with McClary leaving. He took a visit for the Lash Bash event back on July 27th. But prior to that, he's been to Penn State multiple times. 3 times in 2023, 2 times in 2024. A kid that they've been after for a while. And then the connection to St. Joe's Prep I can't rave about enough. This is a huge get from that aspect. It's a school that Penn State really hasn't been able to break into on the recruiting trail, and it's a shame that they haven't been able to do that because, like I said, it's probably the top school in the state every year. So for them to be able to break into St. Joe's Prep is huge. And now this is just a start. This is the first kid that I think they've landed in I don't even know how long, but if you notice this cycle, they've landed quite a few Philadelphia kids. So if they can break into that Philadelphia area more and more, that would be absolutely huge. If you look, they have Jabri Wallace-Coleman coming in from Imhotep. They're obviously pushing Zahir Mathis, his teammate, as well. Yeah, this is just a really good get. I know he's not a 4-star right now, but he did rise in our recent rankings, going from, I forget where he was ranked, but he's now number 20 in the state of Pennsylvania as a prospect. He was also, let's see. He was also, he's number 20 as a prospect per the Rivals rankings, all for his position at athlete, number 13 in the state of Pennsylvania. So another top 15 kid from Pennsylvania is going to stay in Pennsylvania, and as you all know, the best in PA stay in PA. Now, They still have a couple other options on the board. There's not a ton left. They would like a wide receiver. It's where a kid like Jerome Miles comes into play. Kid from Utah, 4-star. They're trying to get him to campus. They're waiting to see if they can get him on an official visit or not later this fall. So keep an eye on that. They'd like to add one more wide receiver, but it's not a definite. They do have 3 now in Lyric Samuel, Jeff Exiner, and I'm missing someone. Who am I missing? And Kobe Howard, who they just landed the other day. They are done. They're most likely done there, other than Jerome Miles. Tight end, they're done. Offensive line, there's one left in Malachi Goodman. That could go a couple of different ways. Now, Malachi Goodman is considering Auburn, USC, and Penn State. There's a couple others that play there. I believe he visited Alabama and he visited somewhere else. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's those 3 are the top 3 for him currently. Could go either way. There's a chance if he wants to stay home, it's going to be Penn State. If he doesn't want to stay home, it's NIL could be a factor as well. We know Auburn's not afraid to throw around a little bit of money, as we saw earlier this cycle with Alvin Henderson. Just throwing that one out there. Defensive line, they're done because Kamaju, they got recently, Randy Adarica at defensive tackle. They could probably add another defensive end if they wanted to, especially with the new cycle going to 105 scholarships next year in total per roster. So there's a lot of openings still. There's a lot of gaps they could still fill. Cornerback done, linebacker probably done after this one, and then the safety's been done for a while. So this could end up being your 2025 Penn State recruiting class. Now, I know it's ranked just inside the top 10. Actually, it's number 12 before the commitment. It probably, it's going to be like number 10 or 11. Will it stay that way? Tough to say, but I do think it'll stay top 15 when it's all said and done. A lot of these schools are just, I know everyone keeps saying that these schools are going to just pack on the commits, and they're just missing a lot of commits. That's why. That's not necessarily true. Because the transfer portal being the way it is, a lot of schools want to save spots for kids in the portal. And that's going to be the way of the world now. It's probably going to be 20 to 25 ships per year. That's always kind of been the case. Certain scenarios, you could see it being a little different, but for the most part, I expect this to be a top 15 class. It's more of a filler class for Penn State than a star-studded class. Now, that's not to say they don't have stars in this class. They have 5.9 4-stars, which is all ranked in the top 150 in the country, between Darius Dixon, Jameer Joseph, Jabri Coleman, Randy Adarica, Kobe Howard. And there's several other 4-stars that are ranked pretty high, and like Tyke Hayes, Beckham Kritza, Alex Tatch, Deshaun Burnett, Matt Henderson, Braswell Thomas, Jaden Woods, Yvonne Kamaju. Caden Barker was a 4-star. There's other guys that can make the leap, too, into that 4-star category. So it's really going to depend on how these kids develop during their senior year, if this class will be top 10 or not. I'm going to say no, personally. I think it's going to be top 15 to like 18 range. But it's still a pretty good class. You can't complain about it. Really good getting Cameron Smith. Other than that, we kind of went over who else there is on the board currently. But for now, that's pretty much it. It's just going to be kind of a quiet one until this dead period ends September 1st, and that's when, or I should say, August 31st it ends for the dead period, and we'll probably see some kids on campus. Oh, well, not that day. That'll be down at West Virginia, but the week after we'll probably see some kids on campus, and we'll keep you updated as always on Happy Valley Insider, aka pennstate.rivals.com. If you aren't already on the message board, the Lions Den Forum, use the promo code HVI30 and you get a free 30-day trial. Latest scoop on everything from recruiting to team news to off-the-field news that's been pretty relevant recently. The Cam Smith news we kind of had for a couple weeks now. We kind of mentioned when he came to campus for that Lash Bash event that there was a good chance this could happen rather quickly. So good for Penn State to get back in the Philly area. Good for Penn State to get into a school that they really haven't gotten into in quite some time. If I can't even remember the last time they had a St. Joe's Prep kid, but overall, good get for Penn State, good get for the recruiting class, and they add another linebacker for Tom Allen's 4-3 defense, so we'll see how he kind of fits in there. But for just me today, that's another episode of the Penn State 365 podcast. Signing off.